you click this video, you're a heretic. Because you want to find out if I can use nail products to paint my Warhammer miniatures. But not only to make them sparkly as fuck, but also grimdark. And after successfully calling my viewership heretics, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kiddo, and today we are going to break the hobby rules once again. By the way, don't mind me sitting on the floor. Because of the heat wave, I had to flee into my basement. If you saw my last video, you'll know that I painted a unit of Zinj Screamers using nail products like 3D Build-A-Gel and pigments. And honestly, the results were super vibrant, the color popped like crazy. Kind of a color pop nightmare though. But I have the feeling that Zinj would approve this kind of sparkly mutation. But the last video left me with a burning question. It is easy to make nail pigments look bright, sparkly, and magical, but this is Warhammer 40k. The universe is supposed to be grim, dark, and unforgiving. So the question I want to find answers to in this video is, can nail products also be grim dark? And to find out, we are going big. This is a Chaos Space Marine Heldrake. It is a massive, biomechanical, terrifying dragon covered in a lot of trim and spiky bits. And today we're going to see if we can turn this plastic beast into a brooding, gritty masterpiece using sparkly black nail pigments, 3D Build-A-Gel, and a seriously insane custom base. Buckle up, because this is gonna be a wild ride. Why the Heldrake though, and why nail products? Well, in the Warhammer lore, Heldrakes aren't just robotic dragons. A Heldrake starts as a chaos fighter jet, but over centuries in the warp, the chaotic energy fuses the ship and the pilot together in a twisted, predatory beast. The metal itself is alive, constantly shifting and regenerating. The warp, on the other hand, is a chaotic abyss of dark energy. By using 3D Build-A-Gel and dark sparkly pigments and putting them right on top of the armor, I want to make this model look like it has been forged directly in the Eye of Terror. Step 1 was figuring out the primary armor colors. For a grimdark look, I didn't want just flat black. I wanted something with depth, something that looked like hardened, corrupted steel forged in the depth of the warp. So I grabbed the black nail pigment that still had a subtle spark to it. Applying nail pigment over a model this size is a process, I can tell you that. And everybody who has been painting a Heldrake before knows the struggle, and we haven't even reached the trim. Oh god. Unlike standard acrylics, you are working with textures that need to be cured under UV light, but the payoff is basically immediate. The way the dark glitter catches the light makes the Heldrake look like it's literally made out of like a night sky with a lot of like stars. And then came the true test of patience. The trim. If you ever built or painted a Heldrake, you know that 90% of the model is just metal trim. And for this, I went with a rich, warm gold. painting the goal was obviously a marathon. It took me hours of steady handwork to make sure that the gold popped against the dark armor without looking too clean. Okay, so the dragon itself looks appropriately menacing, but a Heldrake just doesn't fly around looking all pretty. And to make this build truly legendary, I want to make it look like it's diving out of the sky on a pillar of absolute fire. And for that, we need electronics. In one of my other videos, I used LEDs to create a fire cloud coming out of an orc's guitar while he's standing on a custom Morkanot that I turned into a music box and that actually plays music via Arduino. If you haven't seen the video, you can watch it here. And this is the exact technique I'm going to use today for the Heldrake, to fire the Heldrake up. I started with a sturdy wooden stick, that is actually a broken brush, but okay, that I carefully measured, I eyeballed it, and fit it into the head of the Heldrake. And this stick serves two purposes. One, it's the structural support holding the model up, and second, it's also the spine for the fire effect. So I needed it to sit really tightly, and because of the size and the weight of the Heldrake, gluing wasn't really an option. Because the Heldrake is going to be held up by this single stick that will be put into the base. That's the general idea though. I tried drilling the hole into the Heldrake, but ultimately decided to just take my soldering iron and melt the plastic a little bit so the stick could fit perfectly. I took a flexible LED strip and tightly spiraled it all the way down the stick. Then came the nerve-wracking part, the soldering. I carefully wired down the connections to a battery pack that is going to be hidden within the base. Boom, it works. And right now it just looks like a glowing lightsaber, but bear with me, trust the process, okay? I'm going to try to turn this into an absolute inferno. Okay, so it's time to build the ultimate grimdark base for the Heldrake. And what is more grimdark than a forgotten gothic graveyard? Duh. So I 3D printed a bunch of miniature gravestones, crumbling stone walls, trees and iron fences. And to get that classic grimdark aesthetic, I used some heavy washes and I also dry brushed the stones. And to make it look super weathered and mossy and abandoned, I also used these little moss tufts and moss pads. I added some texture paste onto this paper box I had left over from some electronic platines I used for a different project before. But this base also needs a story, so we needed a victim. On the opposite side of the graveyard, I placed a lone space marine. He's taking a stand among the tombs. I secured the LED stick firmly onto the base, aiming the Heldrake that it looks like he's directly aiming and diving towards the space marine. The composition here is key, so I wanted to create like kind of a snapshot of a terrifying final moment. And to turn the glowing stick into real fire, I packed the entire LED with cotton, pulling and shaping it to look like real smoke. Then I fired up the airbrush. I started with bright yellows at the core, transitioning into deep oranges and fiery reds, and finished the outermost edges with a dark, soot black paint. And now when you flip the switch, the light diffuses through the airbrushed cotton perfectly, and we have flames. And now, the only question that is left. Did it work? Can I use nail products to make my Warhammer miniatures look grimdark? Let's find out together. It is time for the heretic highlight. what is the verdict? Can you use nail products to create something genuinely grimdark? In my opinion, absolutely 100% yes. While the Screamers proved that nail gels are amazing for high energy, vibrant colors, this project proved that they also have their place in gritty miniatures too. The depth you achieve from mixing dark, sparkly pigments with 3D Build-A-Gel gives the armor an otherworldly, metallic texture that you cannot just replicate with normal acrylics. It was a massive challenge for me and a total test of patience to paint the trim, but I had so much fun experimenting with all these new products. If you like this video and want me to break more hobby rules and experiment with new products in the future, make sure to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And as usual, thank you so much to my Patreons. You're the best. And until next time, see you in the next video. Stay curious, stay chaotic, and bye. Tschüss, auf Wiedersehen.